Actually, you know what?
way.
Nobody knew I was an architect that day.
Yeah, I didn't
Everyone
know.
thought maybe I was just the host. They didn't realize I was also a licensed architect attending the GMM.
Architecture is like, they know it's a male-dominated industry.
Yes.
So was there ever a time that you felt intimidated?
And I still face that up to this day, here in the Middle East as well.
Where is the compass headed for MOMA?
I've set that bar and everyone seems to just hit it now, and it's just like perfect. The presentation, the design, the thought of every single detail, and it's there.
Kind of scares me in a way. It's something that I really need.
It's being brave enough to take that task on board and say, okay, look, I don't know how to do it, but I'm curious enough. Let's see how I par.
Welcome back to Lines to Legacies, the podcast where we trace the stories, struggles, and sparks that turn lines on a page into legacies in the world. I'm Irene Domingo, and today I am joined by Carmina Osting. And today's theme is Dots in Her Lines, and we're joined by someone whose journey in architecture is as much about vision as it is about impact. Monica Merhebi, co-founder and creative director of MOMA International Design. Monica's career is filled with lines of projects that cross continents, with boundaries broken for women in leadership, and dots that connect into something much greater than design. Purpose. Let's dive in.
Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome, Monica. Now you are our guest. You've built such an inspiring career. So let's begin at the heart of it. Why architecture, and what first drew you to that profession?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I've always loved creating spaces, even as a kid. I didn't know it was called architecture back then. I was like 7 years old. But I had measured my bedroom with a ruler and had drawn it up in floor plan, like bird's eye view. And then it just came naturally. Then later on, I kept like rearranging the furniture, changing the theme of my bedroom until it got noticed and it got featured in a magazine for a children's bedroom. So yeah, I think that's when it really started for me. And that's when I said, okay, I want to be an architect one day. That's when I realized how powerful design is, how the way a space feels can shape how people live as well. It's that invisible power, how design moves you. That's what hooked me.
You were really young, so you said 7 years old. Did you have any influences from your family?
Yeah, I sure did. My father was an architect and an interior designer. My mother was in real estate, but she loved decorating the house. I think she was the homemaker. She was, what influenced me the most, because when my dad would go on business trips, my mom would be like, okay, let's just surprise him and move around the furniture. The piano was the hardest, actually. And she taught me to put towels on the piano. We moved everything around, and that's when I understood space planning. Yeah.
Is it something that I know that architecture was already like it's your first choice, but in between, like as you grew up, was there anything that came into your mind like, oh, maybe this isn't something for me? Like, do you have like a second option if it doesn't work out, or it's like, this is what I really want?
You know, to be honest, I just got lucky because it was what I really wanted. Architecture or interior design. I'm just glad it was architecture because it gave me like a full circle of knowledge, from design to engineering, even like calculus. We still actually use everything we've learned in school up to this date. And I thank all my professors for that. It's good I didn't, miss out on anything,
Okay.
I mean, USD was a lot of fun, but it gave me a lot of discipline and grounding. It built my technical knowledge, and I'm thankful for that because it came from the Philippines. Everyone's so technical over there. And then, of course, I went off to study furniture design in Florence, and that awakened my soul. That's where I fell in love with furniture design, product design, finessing everything. And then, of course, I started the company with Maha Albawardi, and I wanted to learn more about business finance and accounting. So then I went to Harvard, and that helped me build my foundation for business and strategy. And it reminded me that creativity is powerful, but without purpose, it's kind of incomplete. You need to have that good balance. And of course, it teaches you leadership skills at the same time. So yeah, you both need your heart and structure.
So after you define the what, then you go into the why. Why you pursue this, why this becomes your passion. So we've established from an early age in the home, you were already influenced and encouraged to be creative. You had the freedom to move your own bedroom furniture around.
That was fun.
And then that's good because then it further encouraged you to pursue that as in your education. And you not only studied in UST, but you decided to proceed further into Florence. And I think that's inspiring too, that you weren't held back by any.
I did have some setbacks.
Oh,
though.
okay. Do share.
Because you know what? I wanted to do facade engineering. I wanted to become an architect that specializes in high-rise design. So I wanted to do different, building envelopes. So yeah, I got offered to study in Germany for facade engineering, and my parents were like, it's either you go to work and learn it firsthand, or you go to school and we still have to pay for it, everything, and it's just going to take longer for me to learn. You know what? I'm glad that I listened to my parents. I went for, working in China, building high-rise, specializing in skin envelopes. And then I realized, you know what? This is like the best education ever, like just real life experience. So yeah, it's good that, we had USD, and then I went off to do furniture design and then business finance. It's good, like facade engineering. Yeah, it's through experience is the best teacher.
You learn as you go. Yeah. So now that we've touched on your career, when you look back on it, was there a defining moment early on that confirmed that you were on the right path?
Yeah, I faced a lot of setbacks being a woman in a man's world. There were a lot of transitions as well. My first job was at HBA Hong Kong, and I was very young and very eager to learn. But looking back, I'm grateful that my father helped me in the beginning. When I was at university, he would send blueprints and floor plans to school, like to my apartment across university. And I didn't understand why. I'd be like reviewing all of these. But I realized he was just preparing me for the real world. And so right after college, I walked the streets of Hong Kong, submitting my CV everywhere. And finally, I got 2 job offers. And I took one of them. And my first project was the Four Seasons Hotel in Macau. And I remember seeing all of the floor plans, and I'm just so thankful that I understood everything. So that was maybe one realization for me, but as well is the appreciation of the client. When they started looking for me, that's when I realized, okay, this is exactly what I want to be doing. It's fun, and especially being at site and then seeing your designs unfold before you. It's just amazing. It's so fulfilling.
Yeah, you've mentioned something about, entering the man's world, so architecture. So was there any, since you were like, is it fresh graduate when you started working, or was there any internship in between? Or
yeah, I did internship as well, because to get your licensure exam, you had to finish 3,600 hours. Like it was a lot of hours that we had to finish. Remember, like
yeah.
in the Philippines, they were quite strict about it.
Yeah.
So I went to Coscaluela and I learned from the ground up. I was actually a draftsman over there.
Okay.
And I wanted to fight my way to be a designer. So even if they told me to draw up this tower that we were doing over there, I still on the side did my own designs, and I think somebody noticed, and yeah, that's probably how it started. But I have started my career from being a draftsman, then working my way up, and now having our own company with my business partner. I realized those steps were really needed. Now I understand how everyone is in the company, how fast someone can complete a task. It's because I had to do that task as well before. And it's just so humbling, yeah, to go through that experience. And I think a lot of people want to just jump that process. And you realize when you're finally there, you're like backtracking how, and you're trying to learn different types of leadership skills to support you. Actually, what it is, we just have to trust that process. We have to go through all of that. Architecture, it takes years of experience, you know.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't complete my question
Oh, okay.
earlier about the man's world. So yeah, when you entered, it was in Hong Kong, right? It was your first job in Hong Kong, and then you mentioned that it's, of course, architecture is like, they know it's a male-dominated industry.
Yes.
So was there ever a time that you felt intimidated?
Oh,
or
yeah.
something? And then how did you overcome that throughout the process of
I mean, first things first, it's not even being in a man's world, it's also the language barrier. Being in Hong Kong and being in Shanghai, Singapore, I had to adapt quickly. I had to work in Cantonese and in Mandarin at the same time and understand the culture. It was a big adjustment. You know, new language, new culture, it's a fast-paced studio environment. But it's when you're in a room full of really old men that you get intimidated, because there's this young woman coming in and apparently I'm the host for the meeting. I'm the one giving the presentation. And they're like, yes, we're looking for Monica. And I would say, yes, that's me.
okay.
And especially that I'm Asian and I'm a woman and these are my genes. We'll always look 10 years younger than our age. That was a challenge for me. And I still face that up to this day, being a woman in a man's world, here in the Middle East as well. But you know what? It's been so promising. Having MOMA and being here in Dubai, we're building amazing things. And I can't fathom like myself anywhere else.
Okay.
And we've touched earlier on the fact that you've studied in other countries. You went to Harvard Business School and you did entrepreneurial studies in NYU. And so, how was that experience as a Filipino student? And when you proceeded to work and establish yourself and tell people, this is who I am an Asian woman, and yes, I am leading this project. How was that as a Filipina as well? Because, you know, in our culture, we're submissive. We say, well, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. How did you navigate all of that early on in your career and in your studies?
To be honest, I think design is universal. So that was the language I was using most of the time. So being a Filipino, I would just be in the meetings and I'd just be humble enough to just make sure that they were trusting me, that their home or their tower would be designed beautifully. It didn't matter who it was, whether it be someone from the West or someone from the East. It didn't matter. Me being a Filipino, I just had to trust my instinct. I had something to offer. And it was just being myself. That I believe the foundation that UST and the Philippines has provided me with was enough. And that was all. I think it's just, I had a really good university life. So that, yeah, it just helped a lot. So it built my confidence in moving to different countries and executing a lot of the projects.
But is there anything you feel like should be integrated in the curriculum of architecture in the Philippines?
Oh, yeah. I think actually they should really teach us real life experiences, what happens outside of school, which is probably more on the business side. So, negotiation with the clients or how to deal with other subconsultants, how to work with them. We learn their craft vaguely in school. Like, we have the subjects building utilities, engineering science, all that. But when you're in the real world, actually, you just need to know a pinch of every single topic. But it's really understanding what the MEP is trying to do, how you can agree with them, how they can agree with your design, how you can work together. And I think that's what we're also missing in the Filipino education for architecture,
I think
preparing us
yeah.
for real life.
I think
What do you think?
we are more about technical skills, developing, grooming everyone with the technical skills, and then when you go abroad, you just end up being the technical person in that room, and then you don't get to develop something like what you mentioned, like the business side of things, how to deal with leading people. That's something that it's really nice to improve the practical things that you learn from you've mentioned in the real world. I've seen this. So I've studied quite briefly abroad, and then I've seen this whenever they do like give you some tasks, they don't just give you as a theoretical, or it's not just an exam, but you do it in actual. You go to the place, you do it in actual, and then you submit your report, you do it. So I think that's something that's really missing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I think if we are offered that in school, it's also for us to really take that chance to really make yourself known in the company that you can manage that task. What happens is that you do internship, for example, during university, and they're like, okay, fine, let's just give her like the small tasks. But how are you supposed to learn that way? You as well have the responsibility to go to your supervisor and say, I want more. It also has something to do with how we are as well. And I think that's a lesson for a lot of the students out there. You have to be bold. You can't be afraid. You have to remember it's okay to take up space. And because when you do, you learn a lot and you experience a lot. And that's like the best lesson there is to architecture or interior design or landscape. So yeah.
So, building on that confidence, can you bring us to the origin story of MOMA? What made you decide to build up your own company instead of continuing to work under someone else's vision?
I think that came innately. It started with me just wanting to execute my own designs. I've been on the client side. I've also been on the consultant side. I enjoy both. I'm glad with MoMA, we have both worlds. We're pretty much almost like a developer, but is the consultant. We're the client representative in many of the projects. What it is actually, yeah, I started MoMA because I wanted that independence. Yeah, definitely. And it's a beauty because sometimes when you're in a very big company, you can't really express the ideas that you want. At MoMA, we're here to really tailor every single experience. We design all the way to your fingertips. And I think that's what's important to me right now, especially after being, a mother and a business owner. My outlook has changed in life, wherein it's all about how people feel when they come into the space is what matters now. Yeah.
So you went from understanding the technical side of things to how the experience feels when you have the final outcome. And does that influence what kind of projects you decide to take on?
Actually, you know what? Being an architect and an interior designer, but I specialized in hospitality, we took on every single project. Right now, we've got people coming from government asking us to do government offices, but as well hotels. But if you realize the trend that's happening, it's all towards hospitality or longevity of life. So all of our designs pretty much, you know, exude people's lifestyles, like better lifestyles. So in terms of me choosing the projects, I don't really get to choose. The projects choose me, and I'm able to give them something better, a better lifestyle kind of thing. Yeah, it made me think. But yeah, if we're thinking about if which project that, yeah.
Were there any projects that brought on some challenges that helped you build your company or your experience?
Actually, I think the large projects bring a lot of lessons because there's so many things that you have to coordinate and manage. You just have to think of everything as a whole. I think a smaller project is great, but then it's easy because you can see all the components. When you're building a hotel, and for example, that's 500 rooms or 1,000 rooms, you're thinking about how to zone everything, how to compartmentalize the thoughts, the ideas of every single space, but still execute what you want in every single space. So the challenges probably are, for me, is larger projects. I'm used to it because of my experience, like being at HBA, WATG, RTKL. These were soaring towers and sprawling resorts. But having your own company and not just being a piece of the pie, you have to really look at every single thing, look at it as a whole. So it actually is very different. I think to build a company, you really have to make sure that you've managed a project all by yourself before when you're coming from another company. And then building your own company, you're like, okay, these were the lessons I learned and the hardships I've gone through, execution of the project, going to site, making sure everything's like up to schedule and up to quality. So yeah.
I think that encompasses the quote around architecture that you're the jack of all trades but master of none. So would you agree that it does take different experiences and no job is too small when you're trying to build that career?
Yeah, no job is too small. Definitely not. I've taken on something very small before, which was an office, and eventually that client really liked what we did. Later on, we had developed his entire community, thousands of homes, and then we also did like other houses for him. So it's a job is never too small. What is important is you building that relationship with the client, and I think a lot of people forget that's what business is. Your connection with the client, your relationship with the client. So for us, all the projects that we have been repeat clients. I'm so thankful for. A lot of new developers right now are happy because we're very humble. We don't advertise so much. Our work speaks for itself. So I'm glad that this is the path that we're on, and it's been wonderful.
And moving forward, or at least looking ahead before you take the next step, where is the compass headed for MOMA? Where do you see the company headed?
Actually, we see ourselves expanding more globally. We still have offices in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and in Clark. Definitely just expanding those offices, making sure that our DNA here in Dubai gets transferred over there. So a lot of times we have people from Clark come over to Dubai or vice versa. But that's really important. Constant communication with them, global meetings. So that has been, that's the plan ahead, definitely. Going more global than we are already, but yes.
Let's touch point on women empowerment and leadership.
Okay.
So you being the creative director, right, and then a co-founder of MOMA. So for that, what's I think I would want to understand first, because I see you as you have a very strong personality. I mean, for me, it's my, because we've never met before. This is the first time that I've met
That's a
you, or
good
like
thing, I
really, that I really talked to you. I think the first time that I saw you was at GMM.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, doing the interview with Chef
With Chef Noel, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time. And to be honest, when I saw you, I felt intimidated. Like, I mean, not in a
Actually, you know
negative
what?
way.
Nobody knew I was an architect that day.
Yeah, I didn't
Everyone
know.
thought maybe I was just the host. They didn't realize I was also a licensed architect attending the GMM.
Yeah, I didn't know
Guilty
that,
also.
honestly. So who is she? So when I saw her, it's like I have this feeling she's, it's quite intimidating in a way that it's, I don't know how to approach you. I wanted to ask you or something like that. And then, so going back, sorry, I'm going to circle back to that, to MoMA. So is there any like a misconception about you when you as a leader, or you as their director and in your workplace?
Actually, yeah, that's a really good question, because I think a lot of the times people think I'm very firm. But my background was coming from Asia, and it was very strict, very fast paced, and you always had to make sure you set the bar and you hit that mark. So with me, I always set the bar high. And I think a lot of the times people are like, oh, like push, push, push. Yes, but me pushing you into probably uncomfortable zones makes you realize that you've reached your fullest potential at that task. And you realize, oh my God, I've unlocked something. So a lot of the times people think I am strict or I am very quick. But actually, you know what? I want the best for that person all the time. It's always the priority that I've had. I always believe that wisdom not shared is a treasure never found. So I always tell everybody at the company, if you know something, share it. And because of that, every Friday we've got the lunch and learns that happen. And this is not just with suppliers, this is within ourselves. So we had an AI workshop within ourselves. We had even a painting session, which was fantastic, because it doesn't always have to be, architectural or interior design or landscape. It can be just something for all of us to just unwind and rekindle our old skills, which was basic painting. And I love giving people those chances to shine. So I think that misconception has happened before. And people who really get to know me, they're like, she's actually really fun. And I love the people that I work with, the talent that's in the office. Right now, we're like in a sweet spot. Every single designer at the office, we're just like, yes, we're just so in sync. And it's happening, and I'm so grateful for that, because I've set that bar and everyone seems to just hit it now, and it's just like perfect. The presentation, the design, the thought of every single detail, and it's there. So
hearing that is really great. And then you mentioned about pushing someone, or like your what do you call this, your team out of their comfort zone to reach their fullest potential. In that point, what can you tell like other architects, or let's say, because we're talking, I wanted to touch point about the business side of things. So how can you tell them that, or how can you push them out of their comfort zone to? I think it's more on what's the kind of mindset should we have?
Yes, I'm glad you're asking about the mindset. I think one must be very curious, and one must be bold to take those next steps. So for example, the task, they've never done it before, and sometimes people always put it on the back burner that I'll do that last because I don't know how to do it. But they don't realize that it needs time and research. So for example, the task would be making a whole new layout. Instead of just a regular material board, how else can you recreate that board? So we've come up with something, a little secret, but we've done a different way to do our material boards or our expressions for FF&E. And it was a struggle for that person to do it. But when she was able to unlock it and do it, she was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I'm like, exactly. That's it. But it's being brave enough to take that task on board and say, okay, look, I don't know how to do it, but I'm curious enough. Let's see how I par. They execute, and it's just fantastic. And they realize to themselves, oh my God, yes, that's it. And we move from that, and it's being celebrated as well in the office when a design is so beautiful, and it's not even submission date. We're just reviewing it. We're all just like clapping in the office together, like, oh my God, it looks so good. Yes. So definitely the mindset is you must be curious enough, brave enough, and bold enough.
Okay,
And
I think that's
not being afraid to make mistakes. It's okay.
Okay, thank you for that. It's
Right.
actually that's what this is kind of like a personal thing for me because I'm in between like a transition. I've mentioned this to this guys last night. So I wanted to know because it scares me. I'm in a phase of transitioning between technical and a little bit of commercial, and it's more on the client facing role. So I wanted to understand like the kind of mindset because eventually we wanted to start a business and all, but I wanted to try that role first, like the client. How do you deal with the client? Because it's very different when you're in a technical side of things. You just do like you do your software CADs, you do your submission and all, but it's very different when you talk to clients, you build relationships with them. So it kind of scares me in a way. So I don't know I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
So I think that's very, that curiosity, and then don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think it's something that I really need.
Yeah, but
right now.
Touching up on like what you've mentioned, recently I went to this conference. It's the PPO, and it's Philippine Professional Organization. So different professionals were there, from engineers to architects to doctors. And there was one part in the conference was about entrepreneurship and how to transition from an employee to an entrepreneur. And I think he touched up very much on how to get there, which was you have to have both feet, like you have one foot in as being an employee and one foot as being an entrepreneur or having your own business. I did the same thing. So I know that you are afraid, but you want to kind of have that security first. And the moment that you feel that you're confident enough to just let you being an employee go, because you'll have that calling, you'll just let it go, and then suddenly you have both feet as an entrepreneur or owning your own business. And that's what happened with me. I couldn't remove that foot. It took me a year. I had the company open for that long. And I said, you know what, now's the time. And I had 2 feet in the owning a business. What it is that you have to spend the weekends as well. This is also a secret. You have to use your weekends not for your personal thing. You got to be studying, making the business plan, calculating things, profit losses. You have to do all of that because you are your own boss. So you have to have that sense of responsibility as well. And I think a lot of people don't understand that owning a business is not easy, especially in our world. Being an architect, it's not like owning a coffee shop. It's not owning a salon. We are actually offering service. We are offering design services. So when you get a project, then yes, that's what you work on. Then your payment comes in, and then a profit for the next. How do you manage that budget? All of these are so important, and that's why I had to take business finance to really understand, okay, am I being wise with the money that I'm earning, or the payments that are coming in? Shall I be investing it somewhere? What would that be? Investing in systems, softwares. Yes, I want to do that. I want to build that foundation. So it depends on the priorities. So definitely about owning your own business.
Yeah.
That's that.
And as a business owner, earlier you said that in the Philippine education system, you wish that people would be more exposed to how things are done in the practical world. And then now, when you're at work, you look for people who are really curious and not afraid to try and not even afraid to fail. So how much of that is a factor when you look for people who are applying to work with you or for you in your team?
Yeah, I like that you're touching up on the employment side. The one thing that Maha and I always ask is, or not ask, or check, is if you're pure-hearted. If you come with good intentions. It's because when you come with good intentions, the company grows and everyone is alike. I realize that it is important. It's not about the skills. Skills can be taught. And definitely being curious, yes. Having a great portfolio, yes. But having a pure heart and coming in with good intentions is the number one thing actually we keep looking at MOMA. So
And
it's been great.
that's great that you're able to find people who fit into that. But when you're looking at an applicant or a line of applicants for a specific opening, how do you gauge that? Or how long does it take you to establish that, yes, this person is a great fit for the team? Or is it a trial and error? Have you encountered people who challenged that value of the company once you onboarded them?
I mean, first things first, the portfolio speaks for itself. The layout, the choice of fonts, the spacing, all of that. Number one, it says you have attention to detail. Number two, you have good taste in design and composition. Then personality comes in. I do ask what their favorite sports are or what are their hobbies. It is very important. There was one lady, she said she loved painting, and we love that about her. What does painting connote? It connotes that she's a peaceful person as well. So it doesn't have to be like direct questions, but the things that they love, how they react to things, if they were in that situation. So the questions we do ask in an interview are not the basic, but we also have funny questions, which are like, when's your birthday? And what's your favorite color? Because also what's your favorite color says a lot about who you are. What's your favorite animal as well? Is how you see yourself or how you represent yourself. So those things, those questions are there. We don't ask the basic questions, which most interviewers do. It's something that is checking up on your psyche. And that's when we know, okay, yeah, they're pure-hearted. I think we've learned from the past that it's not about just your CV. How do you fit with the team? How do you work? Are you just in your world, or do you know how to collaborate with others? How you move within a space. It has to be, intentional, yeah.
And how much room do you allow when you see someone who has the potential but aren't quite there yet? Like, are you willing to let them come and join your team and then to help them build that side?
I think that also comes a lot with years of experience, and it's a part of your leadership skills as a business owner to really identify, like, yes, she has so much potential, and we can actually, her joining or him joining us would make them blossom with us. I think it's that foresight of a business owner that is important. It's not always the case that you get someone 100% perfect. There will always be room for them to grow, room for them to adjust to the DNA of MOMA as well. But enjoy the process as well. So yeah, someone who can learn and be a sponge.
A sponge. Yeah. I think that's a key word. And
sponge.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing the insights that MOMA looks into. So for anyone out there who's interested in applying, you know what to do. And as we would love to continue this conversation, unfortunately, we have to let it come to an end just for now. Are there any lines that you would like to leave as your legacy, as a business owner, as a Filipino woman in this industry, as a mother?
Actually, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier because I follow that by heart. Wisdom not shared is a treasure never found. A lot of the times, as you grow throughout your careers, you think to yourself, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna share this with that person because, it's competition." But actually, you're wrong about that. Knowledge is so vast. It's just endless, limitless. So you holding that information and not sharing it, it's actually you not being found that you know it. And people actually will commend you for that. for sharing. They'll be like, that person's actually very generous. That person's actually very smart. That person, you go to her because, you know, she knows her craft. That is actually what's important. And I think a lot of the times as you go through your career, a lot of people even hide materials under their table. Okay, I want to use this for the next project. I mean, that shouldn't be the case. You should know how to share. You can always call the supplier for another sample. I mean, you know, things like that.
So it's always about sharing, not withholding anything. And there's room for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank
that was
you.
so good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. No, wait.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us interview you as a MOMA representative. And we would love to continue this conversation. So once again,
so much fun as well.
Yeah, thank you once again to our guest for today, Monica Merhebi. I've been your host, Irene Domingo, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lines to Legacies is a production by the United Architects of the Philippines Dubai chapter. It's directed by me, Alexis Reyes. Edited by Marvin Berses and Surzan James Gulay. Research and writing by Katrina May Lim and Marivic Matiliano. Hosted by Alexis Reyes, Irene Domingo, and Monica Merhebi. Special hosts are Patrick Soriano and Carmina Austin Mamangun. Guest coordination by Van Adrian Latigay. Social media managing by Norlene Clarice Felizario, Edna Marie Optinalia, and Ran Dudang. Production design by Onofre Giao and Junilin Gallo. Operations is by Chris Garcia. Introduction is by Camila Latigay. And the podcast beat was produced by Patrick Soriano. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Lines to Legacies. See you next time on another episode of Lines to Legacies, a production by the United Architects of the Philippines Dubai chapter.